I never thought of myself as someone remarkable. Most days, I'm just another face in the crowd, blending into the background, invisible to everyone around me. That's the way I like it, honestly. There's a certain comfort in anonymity, in knowing that no one expects anything from you. But sometimes, even the most ordinary routines can take an unexpected turn. It started on a Tuesday morning, just like any other. The subway was packed, the air thick with the smell of coffee and damp coats. I stood near the door, headphones in, eyes fixed on the floor, counting the seconds until my stop. That's when I saw her for the first time. She was standing across from me, clutching a worn leather bag, her hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. There was nothing extraordinary about her, really. She looked tired, maybe a little distracted, like everyone else on that train. But then, as the train lurched forward, she glanced up and our eyes met for a split second. She smiled, just a small, polite smile, the kind you give a stranger when you accidentally make eye contact. It should have meant nothing, but for some reason, that smile stuck with me. All day I found myself thinking about it, replaying that moment in my head. I told myself it was nothing, just a random encounter. But the next morning, I found myself looking for her in the crowd, and there she was, standing in almost the exact same spot, her bag slung over her shoulder, headphones in her ears. I watched as she scrolled through her phone, oblivious to the world around her. I wondered what she was listening to, what she was reading, what her voice sounded like. I started to notice the little things, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the way she shifted her weight from foot to foot when the train stopped. Every morning after that, I made sure to catch the same train, to stand in the same car, just to see her. It became a ritual, something I looked forward to. I started to feel like I knew her, even though we'd never spoken. I convinced myself that she recognized me too, that maybe she was looking for me in the crowd, just like I was looking for her. One morning, the train was more crowded than usual. I ended up standing right next to her, so close I could smell her shampoo, something floral and clean. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I tried to act casual, staring at the map above the door, pretending not to notice her. But then she shifted, her arm brushing against mine, and for a moment I felt a jolt of electricity run through me. She didn't say anything, didn't even look at me, but I was sure she felt it too. I started to imagine what it would be like to talk to her, to sit across from her in a quiet cafe, to make her laugh. I built entire conversations in my head, rehearsing what I would say if I ever got the chance. Days turned into weeks, and my obsession grew. I started to notice patterns in her routine. The days she wore her hair down, the mornings she seemed rushed, the rare occasions when she wasn't there at all. On those days, I felt a strange emptiness, like something important was missing. I began to wonder where she went after she got off the train. Did she work nearby? Did she have friends waiting for her, a boyfriend, a family? The more I thought about it, the more I wanted to know. It wasn't enough to just see her in the mornings anymore. I needed to understand her, to be a part of her world. One Friday, I made a decision. When she got off at her usual stop, I followed her. I kept my distance, careful not to get too close, blending in with the crowd. She walked quickly, weaving through the throngs of commuters, never looking back. I watched as she ducked into a coffee shop, ordered something to go, and disappeared down a side street. I stood outside the shop for a long time, my mind racing. I knew what I was doing was wrong, but I couldn't stop myself. I told myself I was just curious, that I wasn't hurting anyone. But deep down, I knew I was crossing a line. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, heard the echo of her laughter in my mind. I started to worry that she'd noticed me, that she'd seen me following her. I told myself I would stop, that I would go back to just watching her from afar. But the next morning, I was back on the train, searching for her in the crowd. As the days went by, I became more careful. I changed up my routine, took different trains, stood in different cars, always watching, always waiting. I started to notice other people watching her too, a man in a suit, a woman with a red scarf. I wondered if they saw what I saw, if they felt the same pull. Sometimes I caught her looking around, her eyes scanning the crowd with a hint of unease. I wondered if she was looking for me, if she remembered that smile, that brief moment of connection. I wanted to believe she did. One morning as the train pulled into her stop, she hesitated before getting off. She glanced over her shoulder, her eyes meeting mine for just a moment. There was something different in her expression, something wary, almost fearful. My heart sank. Had I gone too far? Had she finally noticed me? I spent the rest of the day in a fog, replaying that moment over and over. I told myself it was just my imagination, that she was probably just tired, distracted. But the next morning, she wasn't there. And the morning after that, and the one after that, I started to panic. I checked every car, every platform, searching for her face in the crowd. I even went back to the coffee shop hoping to catch a glimpse of her. But she was gone. For days I wandered the city, haunted by the memory of her smile, the sound of her footsteps on the platform. I wondered if she'd changed her routine because of me, if she was afraid. The thought made me feel sick, but I couldn't shake it. Then one evening, as I was heading home, I saw her. She was walking with a friend, laughing, her face lit up in the glow of the streetlights. She looked happy, carefree, as if nothing had ever happened. I stood in the shadows watching her, feeling a strange mix of relief and regret. I realized then that I'd never really known her at all. Everything I'd built up in my mind was just a fantasy, a story I'd told myself to fill the emptiness. She was a stranger, and I was just another face in the crowd. But even now, as I sit here, I can't help but wonder what might have been if I'd just said hello that first morning. Maybe things would have been different. Or maybe some things are better left as passing moments. A smile on a crowded train, a fleeting connection that never becomes anything more. After that night, I tried to convince myself to let go. I told myself it was for the best, that I'd only imagined a connection that was never really there. But the city felt emptier than before. Every morning, I still found myself glancing at the faces on the train, searching for her out of habit. I wondered if she ever thought about me, if she remembered that brief moment when our eyes met, or if I'd simply faded into the blur of her daily routine. Sometimes I caught myself retracing her steps in my mind, replaying every detail I could remember. The way she'd pause at the platform edge, the nervous way she'd check her phone, the way her lips pressed together when she was deep in thought. I realized how much of my life had become about her, how much time I'd spent building a story that only existed in my head. One morning as I waited for my train, I noticed a man standing a few feet away watching me. He looked away when our eyes met, but I felt a chill run down my spine. For the first time, I wondered what I must look like to other people. A man alone, always watching, always waiting. I wondered if anyone had noticed me the way I'd noticed her. That thought stuck with me all day. I started to see myself from the outside, to question the choices I'd made. I remembered the way she'd looked at me that last morning, the fear in her eyes. I wondered if I'd become the very thing I'd always tried to avoid. Someone who made others uncomfortable. Someone who crossed invisible lines. The next day, I tried to change my routine. I took a different train, sat in a different car, tried to focus on anything but her. But the city felt different now. Colder, less familiar. I realized how much I'd relied on that small sense of purpose, that daily ritual of searching for her face in the crowd. As the weeks passed, the memory of her began to fade, replaced by a dull ache of regret. I started to notice other people on the train, an old woman reading a paperback, a teenager tapping out a song on his phone, a couple arguing quietly in the corner. I wondered about their lives, their stories, the things they kept hidden from the world. But every so often, I'd catch a glimpse of someone who looked like her. A flash of hair, a familiar coat, and my heart would skip a beat. I'd feel that old urge to follow, to know, to be a part of something bigger than myself, but I never did. I kept my distance, reminding myself of the line I'd crossed, the damage I might have done. Sometimes, late at night, I think about reaching out to someone, telling them what happened, confessing the truth of what I'd become. But I never do. Instead, I sit in the quiet of my apartment, listening to the city outside, wondering if anyone else feels as invisible as I do. I don't know what happened to her. Maybe she changed her routine. Maybe she moved away. Maybe she never noticed me at all. Or maybe, just maybe, she still remembers that morning on the train, the stranger who watched her from across the car. I suppose I'll never know. And maybe that's for the best. Now, when I ride the subway, I keep my eyes on the floor. I try to blend in, to be just another face in the crowd. I remind myself that some connections are meant to be fleeting, that not every story needs an ending. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't what we see in others, but what we discover about ourselves when no one else is watching. And so I move through the city, day after day, a ghost among strangers, haunted not by what I've done, but by what I've almost become.